Greetings, friends. Welcome to another episode of Tea with Dweez. Let's start with a sip of tea. Oh yeah. Yep. Drinking a red tea in a tall glass. A Hong Cha. Mid-morning here in Kamakura. Towards the end of January. And this week, I've decided to take a break from the stories and focus instead on the sounds. The sounds of what, you ask? Well, not the whispered sounds of my voice. My dear friend and ASMR enthusiast friend and video coach friend suggested I try soft-spoken instead of whispers. And they also suggested maybe adding some other sounds in addition to the ones the videos offer upon this winter return to Kamakura. Over the last month, let's start with a book. Pedro Paramo, the great Mexican novel by Juan Rulfo. Want to hear it in action? Found my spot. Right there in the foreword by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. The difficult thing about looking at things in this lovely, deliberate way is that poetic sense does not always tally with common sense. And so it is, with some sniffles here or there, the tea to keep me company, and these tissues in case things get extreme. Let's begin with my notebook. And my fountain pen. Because we've got to rate the sounds. One through 9. throat clearing as I get out the brush pen and test her out on the notebook. Oh yeah. That'll do just fine. I have laid out before me the 9 teapots, tea vessels, tea vehicles, for this top opening symphony. I'm just going to open each one by one, and then close them one by one. Let's start at the top. A black kyusu from Tokonome, Aichi Prefecture, not far from Nagoya, Japan. Purchased by my mother for my 30th birthday. Here it goes. Now, I'll tap the pot. With my newest tea tool, a letter opener forged by a multi-generational swordsman here in Kamakura, given to me as a birthday gift. Let's see how the tapping sounds against the clay. I'm going to give that a 6. Next, we'll move on to the Gaiwan. My first Gaiwan, purchased from Tea Trekker circa 2012, let's say. Broken and kintsugi'd once before. I believe it was $20, and has been a good workhorse. Now let's give her the old tap with the miniature katana. Gonna be a 7. Next will be the other Gaiwan, wood-fired here in Japan, with a small character crouching their knees on the lid. Purchased at Moxa by an artist whose name is escaping me. Purchased 2 years ago in Kyoto. Let's open it up. And tap it out. Five. This calls for a sip of tea. We've made it 1/3 of the way. Moving on to my first Yixing teapot, purchased from Eamon at Tea Habitat, circa 2022. Here goes. And the tap. Eight. Marked with the brush pen. Next, the Heart Sutra Yixing teapot from the 1980s that I purchased in Taiwan just a couple months back in October 2025. Here it goes. And the tap. Six. I'm going to start marking with the fountain pen. Just because. Next, a white Kyusu from Tokonoma. Made for steeping teas like Gyokuro and Kabusecha by Maekawa-san. Here goes. And the tap. Well, that was nice. 7. That calls for another cup of tea. Moving on to our final row. Another Kyusu, made by the youngest potter, I believe, of the bunch. Yamada-san. Yutaro Yamada-san, I believe. Here goes. And the tap. Six. Next, we have, I believe, what's called a hohin. It's sort of like a gaiwan with a little spout sprouting out of it. Purchased in 2021 in Karatsu, Japan, by my mother-in-law. Thank you, Mama-chan. Here goes. The tap. Four. And finally, what I believe is called a bofura. The side handle style kettle made of clay that rests on top of a small stove. Purchased fall 2024 from Kamakura Club here in Kamakura by a potter from Yokohama whose name is also escaping me. But when I met her, she was wearing Issei Miyake pants, and so was I. And that, my friends, was reason enough to purchase the pot. But simmer down over there. This isn't story time, alright? Let's test this lid out. Tapping now. That, my friends, is a 12. Let's put our top back on our ballpoint pen. And by that I mean my fountain pen. And our brush pen. Put our brush pens back. And close our notebooks. I like the magnet part the best. One more time. Oh yeah. This calls for another sip of tea. Just kidding. There's always time for a story. When I was young, there was a sprinkler system in the backyard of our house. along with my older brother and his dear friend. We started the only band I've ever been a part of, which was called Sprinkler Sounds. The arrangements were created by moving objects of different sizes, materials, and thicknesses in the path of the sprinkler system. And as they whipped around, spraying their water, the sounds would change in ways I still find hilarious and gleeful. A wagon becoming a drum, a bucket becoming a drum, a series of gardening tools becoming like the brass section of the big jazz band in our backyard. What's funny is I'm gonna take these teapots and put them in front of the sprinkler system of my mind now. Hilarious and gleeful. I was thinking of this recently because the double dragons, 1.5 years old as they waddle about the house, have taken to apprehending and opening my wife's makeup pouch and taking out the small pencils and other instruments, the names of which I have no idea, and beginning to bang them on objects in the bathroom, creating their first band. Makeup sounds. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I hope you open and close a teapot near you very soon. And if you have a letter opener forged by a katana swordsman, you can always use that to tap on some ceramics whenever the world just feels like it's too much. Sending you love from my tea room to yours, your friend, Dweez.